and we are live on Facebook. Cyndi, yeah, we did it.
Yay! Hi,
Happy New
everyone.
Year. This is a celebration. I'm so excited to be here with Cyndi Stewart today because it's a new year and new energy. And you guys, if you're listening here today or later, like, let me know if you're here. Let me know if you're on the Facebook page, or if you have any questions or any comments, go ahead and put them in the Zoom chat. But what I'm fully aware of right now is, and we are especially this morning, just a big shift in energy. And if there is ever a time that we need to, as heart-centered entrepreneurs, as service-based professionals, if there were ever a time that we needed to show up for the people who need us right now, my coaches, my consultants, listen up. People need you, and this is not a time to be humble or to be hiding. This is a time to let people know in a generous way how you can help them. So before I introduce my friend Cyndi Stewart, I want to give a digital marketing tip this week, and you will have heard this in a number of times, and it is basically my Rise Above Noise system, which gives you the 5 ways, right? The 5 steps to show up, right? You want to make sure you have your mission. Your ideal client would be step number 1. Step number 2 is creating content. And when I say creating content, I don't mean going out and finding other people's stuff, right? Cyndi and I were just talking about, the challenge of going live in a video and feeling comfortable about it, but the joy of being able to get our message out there. The third pillar in Rise Above Noise is sharing your stories, sharing the testimonials that people have for you, and sharing case studies, the differences that you've made in people. And in doing so, what happens is other people identify with the solution that you provided for the problem that they see as their own problem. So share those stories, share those stories. The 4th step in Rise Above Noise is to schedule things out. Again, as heart-centered entrepreneurs, we're more susceptible than others to that drain on our energy. And if we're turning to social media to look for something to post, and we're getting into that imposter syndrome, or we're getting into, oh, she's doing it so much better, or I'm missing out, I should be doing this, that doesn't serve you and it doesn't serve your clients. So when I say when I work with my clients on creating systems, it's so that you are very intentional. You want to go in, do what you need to do, have a strategy, have a plan. You've got your frequently asked questions, you've got a calendar, you have a scheduler. Go in, do what you need to do, show up where you need to show up, set your timer, show up where you need to show up so that you are building relationships, and then get off. Don't spend too much time in there. That's a really critical 4th step in the Rise Above Noise, 5 steps. And then the 5th step is where I spend a lot of my time, which is keeping in touch with people, sending the private messages, sure, using send out cards or your own great card writing abilities to keep in touch with people. And where I spend my time is on email marketing. I wanted to talk a little bit today about the nurture sequences, but you guys have heard it. I really don't want to spend any more time talking about this today because I want to spend time with Cyndi. So next week, I'll talk a little bit more about nurture sequences. I do have a workshop starting on Monday. There's one next Monday and one next Tuesday. 2 different workshops are starting depending on what days are available for you and what times are available. I have one starting pretty much twice a month. So if you are ready to make your nurture sequence, to show up in generosity, to show up with gratitude for the service that you can provide for people, let's have a conversation. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to read Cyndi Stewart's official bio. Hang on, I gotta find it. Here we go. Cyndi Stewart, Ph.D., Akashic Records, created a mystic's approach that gets to the root causes of unresolved health issues and for developing spiritual well-being. Cyndi's healing journey involved a transformative experience. She had struggled with multiple health issues. She ultimately regained her health with this technique that she created and that she uses with her clients. It's called nutritional alchemy, and it involves a multidimensional approach with food as pharmacy, energy technologies, applied kinesiology, and the Akashic records for insight into why you might be stuck or why we resolve one issue and then another one appears. You guys, this is a long, meaty bio, but I got to tell you, I can't be more excited to speak with Cyndi today. Before I get started, so here's how I'm going to get started. Cyndi, when I asked you what your superpower was, what you wrote was, your superpower is indeed Akashic records and developing metaphysical, holistic approaches, focusing on the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. And that's probably a great lead-in to our topic today. What can you tell me about your superpower? I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad to be here. And I love how you call it heart-centered entrepreneurs, because that is exactly when you think about, when you're talking about service and gratitude, right? That's exactly the space we need to be in, and actually say to people quite a bit when they're feeling really heavy or over analytical or overthinking, like, feel all that energy, like close your eyes, feel it and drop it to your heart. And you will literally get released out of your head. You'll come into your heart. And when we speak or we do Facebook posts or we write content from our heart, even if it's somewhat the same words, the energy will change. So the heart-centered person is connecting to other heart-centered people, right? So we're changing the energy of what we do. And I've tested this out, and you can test it out too, because I have a love-hate relationship with social media. So that's why I love Susan with marketing, because I am also working on that myself, especially during COVID. But I would post something and I wouldn't have I'd be like, oh, social media. And I'd hardly get anyone looking at it, and I delete it. And then I bring good energy to it. Like, social media is giving me an opportunity to connect with people at a deeper level and share with them information that could help them feel better about their day. And all of a sudden my post gets a bunch of likes and interest.
Yes, I like the way that you put that there. So tell me more about, I know you've had a long journey to where you are now, and I would love, like, you guys, when we put up Cyndi's contact information, totally worth getting on a call with her because her journey is fascinating. But what I'd love to do is kind of bring you to where you are now. I know we met at a Pepper Lane meeting because, as you know, it's my goal to have a dual life here and in Colorado. So I've been spending some time with Colorado dots, trying to make that, manifest that to happen. So, I mean, it would be easy to say, here's the things that I do. Here are the people that I help. Come and get me, right? But you do have to reach out.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about, if I am that heart-centered entrepreneur and I am making a difference, you are, I am, Christina is, Jack is, like, who we are. What do we need to know? What is your area what are some pieces of advice that you can bring to us that we can understand? Oh, this is how Akashic records help, or this is how the alchemy helps. Like, tell me more about that.
Yeah, great question. So myself, always consider myself heart-centered entrepreneur from the beginning. And generally someone in that space is sensitive to energy. It's the hard part is sometimes we don't always know it. So if I think back to my journey and today, sometimes we could be feeling anxious or depressed or something just off, and it's not even necessarily our energy, it's someone else's. I actually heard, there's a lot of studies now in this area in the quantum physics realm, and I heard someone say we could have up to 90% of how we feel coming from somebody else. So first, knowing that, yeah, this is huge. So I always share, like, say you wake up and something happens, you read something on social media and you take in that feeling and you have some kind of interaction with your children or your spouse or your partner, and you kind of have like a bank of energy, say 100% when you wake up in the morning, right? And if you're thinking of something that happened to you a long time ago, I don't want to mark it today. I mean, I had this interaction, I have to do this to-do list thing. It's like, we're taking like the bank of energy, and sometimes for breakfast, we might have lost 80% of our energy. So I feel as business owners and myself included, like learning to manage that energy, pay attention to it is really like the foundational of this whole piece. And what I loved about the Akashic Records, I ended up starting training with them, maybe 15 years ago. And if anyone's been involved in energy work, you might have noticed that I used to make fun. Energy was like drip, 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 drip. Like you've asked for messages if you work with your guides or your spirit, and you get little bits of information. But the energy is very expansive now. And we can really tap in very much to what's out there. So we all have access to intuition. But the Akashic Records is working in the Akasha realm, which is quantum physics, the quantum field. The Akasha is also our 8th chakra for those that are work in the chakras. For those, I always say that like psychology, it's Carl Jung's collective unconscious. And again, for those that are into physics and metaphysics, it's the quantum field. So it's much more expansive. And the aspects of the Akashic Records is we can look at past, present, and future. Information is all available to us. And if you ever heard somebody say they downloaded this information and wrote a book and they don't even know where it came from, that's because they were working in the quantum field, which is the Akashic Records. So all this stuff going on energy-wise, it really gave me clarity when I was accessing the records, and then I learned to access for others.
I know that you explained a little bit. Akasha is our 8th chakra. Intuition. Can you tell me more about that? Because I have to say, I've heard people talk about it and I know people are studying it.
Yeah.
Can you make that a little more clear for me?
Yes. And this is a really good piece because we're looking at like it's the intuition and then going into the Akasha. So we all have access to tap into our intuition. We've all at times probably said, I got this gut feeling, right? So that would be 3rd chakra. You're a feeler in your 3rd chakra and you're tapping into your messages are coming through there. Or you're like, I just followed my heart just knew it. So you're a very heart-based person, right? You say things like that. And or if you're someone like, I'm thinking about it, you're a thinker. Still doesn't mean you're not getting, 3rd chakra, right? Crown chakra. Your brain can still be getting intuitive messages, but that may just be how you process it. So it's really neat to listen to like your verbiage. Your words are so important, so powerful for empathic and heart-based entrepreneurs. Where that energy comes in. So we all have access to this intuition. The challenge with intuition versus something like the Akashic Records is our intuition, scientifically based, is based on our experiences, our memories. Now, research has also proven that our genetic aspects, not only of our physical body or emotional body, come from our ancestral line. So our intuition can be coming from our ancestral line as well. But think about a day you've had, like yesterday, for instance. Think about yourself, what you went through. Think about what you're working on for your business right now. And then you have like 14 generations of ancestral emotions coming through your body. There's a lot of interferences going on with your intuition, right? To really get clear is what is my intuition telling me? And that's why a lot of people say to me, they have a hard time trusting their intuition because you have all this stuff going on. Where the Akashic Records, which is outside of our body, right? So now we're in the 8th chakra, 7 stops here. We're tapping into the Akasha field. In the records we work with, some people call it spirit guides or angels, but we work with something called the beings of light, which have never been physical beings. So they're not tied to our emotions and they're not tied to the news. They're not tied to anything going on. So we're accessing very clear, concise, non-interference information, which makes it really powerful and expansive to tap into. So we enter the Akashic Records through something called a vibrational key. Some people call it a prayer. So we can access this relationship. And then we ask questions in the records. And we just develop this relationship and we can move energy and we can look again, move past life karma, deal with our current situation, look to the future. Future is always a caveat. One quick thing I just want to add, because it's free will, right? So you might get information when you be like, I'm not ready for that, or I don't choose that today. So free will is always with your future. Same thing with intuition.
So can anybody, like, I know that tapping into your intuition, I've talked a lot about that. My friend Kathy Ripley Green has been so great about teaching me about intuition because I'm so analytical. Like I've spent my whole life with data. So intuition was an interesting thing. And now we're talking about this like similar but different. Can anyone do it? Do you need to be trained to do it? Do you need a guide to do it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, all those questions. So yes, anyone could do it. What makes it challenging, what's very helpful to get trained in this day and age is that when the Akashic records were originally accessed, and this is going way back, and anyone's into like metaphysics, this would be like early Egyptian times. There was something called mystery schools, you might have heard of it, where people train for 7 years to become these mystics. So we're talking, 10,000 BC type areas. The yogis were working in this field already, and they were accessing this information. That's why when you look in the research of the Akashic records, it generally comes out of some kind of Ayurvedic type yogi type philosophy. So they were able to go into meditation for days, weeks, months, and get in without, their training was with their seers, with their mentors. Then when the energy changed, kind of when we went into AD times, we pretty much lost our access to the Akashic records. It just, the energy got so slow, it was hard to access it because our vibrational of our society and our planet got really low. But now, as I mentioned, as we're talking about moving to the Aquarius age, all this 5th dimension, all the stuff is changing. This year is a monumental year, right? We closed off a 4-year and moving to a 5-year. The access is it's much more expansive. But getting trained is because it really helps you figure out, like we do exercises between asking your intuition something, and then we ask the Akashic records, and you see the expansiveness and the difference and the vastness and the clarity of the information. So you don't have to become a monk for 2 years to access it.
But you do need somebody to tell you what to pay attention to, what to look for.
I found that helpful for me. And like you mentioned, Susan, you're, very analytical. Our society teaches us to be analytical. We do a really good job at that. School teaches us. That's one thing they do teach us good. And we need the analytical part. There's a common sense part we absolutely need to be able to process like right or wrong and stuff like that. But they don't necessarily teach us the other side, how to develop and pay attention to that intuitive side. And that's why I was sharing, your best place to start foundational is just pay attention to your energy, pay attention to your emotions. If your energy is stuck here, move it here. If you feel very stuck, like can't move forward, sometimes it's in your root chakra. Move the energy up to your heart. I'm giving you very, very quick things. I know this takes time, but just paying attention to your energy and where it is in your body.
That's so great. I have a question to circle us back around, but I do want to say that my good friend Joanne O'Neill, brilliant, wise woman, she's telling us that practicing quiet stillness within is an essential aspect of being capable of tapping into one's intuitiveness, and even more practice and self-discipline, she's in parentheses, meditation, training, being taught by mentors or teachers is extremely important. I know that Joanne teaches active listening in the work that she does as a psychotherapist and an herbalist. So she's bringing some good conversation here as well.
Yeah, I completely agree, Joanne.
Honestly, so we have a few more minutes, but I want to bring it back for a second because, as I mentioned, I am analytical and I am like guiding entrepreneurs into doing the things, you guys, that bring us forward. So how can somebody, anybody in the Rise Above Noise community, use what you're talking about, right? Intuitive, the Akashic records. How do we bring that back into my data-driven world, or my, let's set goals kind of world, my 12-week year?
Yeah, well, Cyndi, it makes me think of even when you started and gave the tip, it was really interesting. Your tip to me felt so much more based on like energetic and more this kind of deep thinking, this deep kind of soulful, intuitive thinking and a little bit of action. And you even said like, don't stay there too long, then come back and do your other stuff. So I really felt it lined up well with how you introduced today. And I think it's kind of the same, like, and just for me, I'll write, if I'm working on something that's struggling for me or can't move forward or keep coming up, or some people call it triggers. I like to call it anchors because I'm really careful with words and I don't like the word trigger because it relates to violence. So I'm really mindful on my words. But I'll start writing it down. I am a journaler. You don't even have to be a journaler though, but you just at least want to get to the crux of like, what's going on for me? And then if you can, get in some quiet time, either through meditation, or some people like to walk, or some people I find they do really well just in the shower. Because the shower, it's like, it's like you could be freeing and the water coming down your head, kind of cleansing your whole body and all your other stuff out of it. I find that's a great time for people to get really good messages. But I find the pre-work, and kind of you were talking about that too, is so important. It's like, what's the question here? We call it the art of the question. Coaches call it that too. Like, what am I really trying to resolve here? And then what's behind the question? That's the soul part. I always say then after you write your question, ask your soul, what's the real question I'm asking here?
I'm typing that because that was really good. What are you really asking? And
Yeah, from
what's
your soul.
behind?
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's like you please
Andrea.
your analytical mind, please them. And then it's like, okay, now let's get to the next level.
Awesome. I want to note that Andrea Kukulka just waved hi to us on Facebook, and she is also an intuitive and a spirit medium. And I'm just excited. You know what? When I started my business, I loved the data. I loved it. And then what you get to, right, in your business, you ultimately get to choose who you want to work with and who you want to surround yourself with. And this was in doing the work with a business program. I was in Bold Heart, and I was with Dolores Hirschman for a while. And in all of those, I was just talking about this with Regina this morning too. Like, a lot of times you hear, follow your passion. What's your passion? Do more of that. And is data my passion? Is social media, is email marketing my passion? No. However, surrounding myself with people who can give me wisdom like this, and surrounding myself with people I can give my gift to so that they can spread their gift. I think that, between all the conversations I've had over the past couple of days, it has given me some clarity on, do I want to get up and do constant contact and email sequences all day? Well, it's fun. I did get my dopamine hits yesterday, but this has been the highlight. And I'm so grateful that you came and spent your time with us this morning. Like I said, people are going to want to hear more from you. Where can you did say you're doing more videos. Can they find videos of you? Can they get on a call with you? Like, how do we get more Cyndi Stewart?
Yes, thank you for asking. Yeah, so my videos are one of my main goals for this year, being seen on video. So they're not fully out yet. I'm forcing myself to enjoy them. But my website is called Root Cause Health Solutions, one word. And also on Facebook, same thing. And then I have a Facebook group called Root Cause Writing Recipes and Transformational Practices. Because as I mentioned, I do journaling. So I do this transformational journaling for purpose. And I have actually a workshop coming up this Sunday on turning our goals into intentions, all on Zoom, of course. And then the following week, next Sunday, I have a workshop on the Akashic Records, just to have an experience in your own Akashic Records. It's a 1-hour workshop where we do an exercise where we ask a question in our intuition, then we open up the records and you get to see the difference. So it's just like a quick experience of what would your Akashic Records look like.
I put your website and your group.
Great.
Is that an open group?
Yes.
Awesome. Root Cause Recipes, Writing and Transformational Practices. And then you have workshops coming up, and I'll put those in there as well.
Great.
Cyndi Stewart, thank you so much. This has been a great, for some reason, I feel like today's Monday, even though I know it's Thursday, but I feel like there's like a new week starting. Like I have to just erase what just happened this week and go forward. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Susan.
Now I got to do the things, more things.